Hello beautiful people, welcome back to the channel. Pots and Petals here, everything garden and allotment related. It is Saturday morning and we're in for quite a beautiful day today. The birds are singing, so I think they know it's going to be quite a sunny day. The sun's coming out and the clouds are starting to disappear, but it is quite nippy down here. But to be fair, that's all about to change on Sunday here in the UK. It's meant to get even colder. So I know some of you are based out in Canada, North America, and some really cold snowy places. So when I say this, you're going to think, what a wimp. But -4, -5 for me down here in the south of the UK is rather nippy, but I am looking forward to it because we are hopefully due a little bit of snowfall. Now, we don't really get much snow down here in the south of the UK anymore. Probably every 5 to 6 years we get a decent amount, and it's been a while since we last had a heavy snowfall. So fingers crossed this week, well next week, we're going to be getting some snow. Right, that is enough weather updates from me. There's something about British people that just love to talk about the weather. So let's talk about the here and now. So this week I actually managed to hit 1,000 subscribers. So I did just want to say thank you very much to everybody who has subscribed to this channel over the past 8 to 9 months. It has been hell of a journey and I can't wait for the years to come either. It's created such a community here on Pots and Petals, and hearing you guys down in the comments below from all over the world, honestly, it gives me such pleasure when it comes to reading your comments. So please keep it up. I do like to hear from you guys, and yeah, thank you very much for all the support you guys have given me. So I thought, yes, today would be a great day to show off the plot. It's January, it's time for the plot tour anyway, so I can take you guys around the plot to show you the plans for this year, but also what's going on in the garden at the moment. So come on, I'm going to go and start off with a nice cup of coffee, you know the drill, and then we can go and do a tour of the plot. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but it sounds as though somebody's strimming today. In January? Strimming? Don't really know what you'd be strimming, but good luck to him. So yeah, let's have me coffee, but I really need to wait for him to stop so that you guys can actually hear me rather than the strimmer. So about an hour later, a couple of cups of coffee and also some porridge, the strimming has stopped. So normally we'd be standing over here looking back this way, but it's just a little bit too sunny today and it's a little bit glary. But as you can see, not much has changed since the December tour. We've still got the onions and garlics in, but I'll take you in for a closer look. But yes, everything is looking a little bit bare at this time of year. So these are 2 of my compost bins, and if you remember, these were easily sort of this high, probably double the height of what they are now, but we've given them a real good turn and we've emptied this one completely and we've put all of that lovely compost onto the beds ready for spring. Now we've moved all of the woody material from this pile onto this one so that we can start building this back up, but all of that is lovely compost. So over the next few weeks we really must get in there, empty that bin and get all of that compost onto the beds. And then just next to the compost heaps we've got the little apple tree, which is only 2 or 3 years old. We did get a few apples off it last year, but we had a problem with the codlin moth, so we are going to set some traps in April time. And then just below we've got a few little flowers, so we've got some foxgloves in there. They should flower come summertime. Then we've got the poached eggplant, we've got some irises, and I know I had loads of marigolds in here over the summer, so hopefully come springtime they will soon start to germinate. Now these are quite hardy little plants, so even frost and snow won't damage these little guys, and come springtime they'll be full of colourful little blooms. And look, already these buds are starting to not burst, but they're starting to get a little bit furry and a little bit green, so hopefully in the next few weeks these will soon start to burst. You don't want them to burst too early, especially with the blossoms, because if we do get a frost that could damage them. But yeah, it's definitely coming back into life for sure. Down in this bed just along here we have got a load of rhubarb crowns in there. We've probably got anything from 8 to 12, so they really do fill up that area come April time when we start to harvest these. But we gave them a really good mulch with some of the homemade compost not too long ago, so that should give them a really nice feed and give us some really healthy thick stalks come April time. And in this bed we've also got 2 trees, so we've got the apple tree here. I'm not too sure on the variety because it was already here, and that's the same with the pear. I'm not too sure because they were both already here, but we gave them their winter prune not too long ago, so if you want some helpful tips on how to prune your fruit trees or your fruit bushes, then please go back a couple of videos and I will just pop them down in the details below. So down here we have got the allium bed, so we've got 1, 2, 3 beds of onions, and then we've got a bed of garlic just down here. Now the onions looked a lot better probably about a month or two ago when I first started to plant them and they first started to sprout, but I think we've had so much rain recently that they're just looking a little bit scraggly and not too good. So I'm hoping that with a little bit of sunshine over the next week or so they should start to pick up. But the great thing about onions is that you can plant them in the autumn and the spring, so if they don't do too well we can give it another go come March time. I mean, the garlic down in this bed down here I was a little bit worried about because it did take a little while to show, but over the last couple of weeks loads of them have started to pop up above the soil level and they're looking really great with that vivid lime green, so fingers crossed it's going to be a garlic year. And then in this big old bed here we've split it into 1, 2, 3 beds, and again these are full of allium. So in this big bed down here we've got even more garlic. So we planted the first row in September, the second row in October. I was going to do a row in November and a row in December, but because they started to go a little bit soft I just planted the whole lot out come November time, and I was a little bit worried because they weren't showing themselves, but as you can see they've all got their lovely lime green tassels hanging above the soil now, and they've put on quite a bit of growth over the last couple of weeks. So fingers crossed 2024 is going to be a year for garlic. And in the middle of that bed we have got a Verbena bonariensis, and it is starting to put on some new growth, so I might be able to keep that plant. They can be a little bit perennial in that they'll survive just a couple of years, but they do self-seed all over the place and the birds and the butterflies absolutely love them. Then in this middle bed here we have got some shallots. Now these were only planted out probably about 3-4 weeks ago, and I was a little bit worried because they weren't showing any signs of growth, but I can see some lime green shoots starting to appear, so it shouldn't be too long before those start to take off. And we've got the little volunteer parsnip in this bed, so I need to dig him up, and we've also got some of the sorrel at the far end. And then in the far bed over here we've got even more garlic, but I was a little bit silly in that I did sow some green manure in there as well, so we do need to give that a good old weed. But yeah, everything is coming along absolutely perfectly in these 3 beds. And this little bed just along here, it's looking a bit scraggly at the moment, I know, but we've got a bay tree, and then we've got a hyssop, and we've also got some polyanthers. But in amongst all of here we have got probably 50 or 60 tulips, and come springtime it will look absolutely beautiful. And already you can see the tulips are starting to pop up, so give it another couple of months guys and you will see how beautiful this little area looks. I really need to think about what I want to do in this bed. I grew a load of sunflowers in here last year and they done brilliantly, and as you can see we've got a few garlic bulbs in here. I didn't plant them this year and I didn't plant them last year, so I think they must be an old crop from a couple of years ago which has just survived down in the soil and has decided to sprout up this year. Here's the little succulent planter that we made in the summertime. Now these plants down here, these have really started to sprawl and take off, but this little chap up here hasn't done much spreading, so I'm hoping that come spring and summertime these guys will really take off and start to take over some of that gravel space that we've got. This down here is one of many gooseberries that I've got down here on the plot. Now the majority of them you will find in the fruit cage, but this guy, he gives such huge berries that I don't want to move him and I want to keep him, so we do cover him up when the berries start to form. And just a few weeks ago we gave him a real good prune back, and with all of those prunings I've taken a load of cuttings in the hope that we're going to get loads more plants that give just as many and as big berries as this guy. Not a huge amount going on with the pine berries at the moment. I mean, they've still got green leaves on them. They do normally die back, but yes, these are absolute thugs and they will give us loads of berries come springtime. Now, I don't need to cover these up because the birds haven't really found them, so I don't know how long that will last. But yes, these will soon start to spread come springtime as soon as we start getting the heat. So it's a good idea just to keep on top of them, just to make sure that they don't sprawl around too much and you give them plenty of space for those berries to crop. Now this is the main pear tree down on the plot, and it's such a heavy cropper to the point where a lot of these branches did start to snap in the summer, but we've given it a really good prune for winter. That was only about a month ago, so do go back and check some of those videos because I do give lots of tips on how to prune your fruit trees. And then just below here we have got a gooseberry bush, and I do want to try and cut all of this out so that I've got a little bit more room down here, and I'm thinking either putting some bulbs or just making a sort of flower bed down here just to attract some of those pollinators into the garden. Now I believe we've also got an ash or a rowan, I can't remember what everyone's told me, and we've also got an oak tree in there, so I do want to try and dig those up and transplant them somewhere else. And then just under the pear tree on the other side, we have got quite a small little wildlife pond in there. Now it is looking a little bit tatty in there, so I do need to try and give that a clear up, but it's just too cold for me to be putting my hands into that icy water just yet, so I'm going to give it another month or so, and then we can give that a real good clear out for all the animals and all the insects that will want to use that over the spring and summer. Got these two raised beds just here. So we had the beetroot in here many months ago, and we also had the carrots, but we harvested all of the carrots out just last week because some of them were starting to go a little bit rotten in that soil. But yes, these beds do warm up really lovely. Now because they're made out of the plastic, the sun can get to that soil quite quickly, so I do tend to use these beds first in early spring. So we'll get some carrot sown and some beetroot just in the next few months as soon as the soil starts to warm up a little bit. Now what I've been doing with this bed just over here is all the prunings, all the cuttings that I've been taking on the plot, I've just been laying them on top of the soil just to help protect it a little bit from the really harsh, hard rains that we can get over the winter. Here's the view from the end of the plot, just to give you an idea. We started off just over here and we've walked up this garden path. So we've got a big bed down here with 5 smaller beds in, so we haven't got anything in these 2 beds. These have been mulched with some of the fresh compost from the compost heaps. In this bed we've got some of the parsnips. Now we've been harvesting those near enough weekly to take home to have with some roast dinners, but also some beautiful parsnip soup. And then at the 2 back here we did sow some green manure probably about 3-4 months ago. We chopped that back so that would go back into the soil, and we've also given that a really good mulch with some of the homemade compost from the compost heaps as well. So yes, not a huge amount going on in here. I do find that these 2 beds do get quite a lot of shade, so I need to think about what we're going to be sowing in those come springtime, because the onions and the garlic really didn't do too well in any of these beds down here last year. But fingers crossed, because we've given them all a really good mulch full of that fresh compost, whatever we do stick in here should do really well. Now it doesn't look like a huge amount is going on in here, but this is going to be my asparagus bed. Now asparagus are really hungry, greedy plants, so they want lots of nutrients. So we've topped this up with as much as possible. So we started off with some bagged compost, then we put on some homemade compost, and then over the top all of this straw-like material is actually horse manure. So yes, the asparagus should absolutely love this. The strawberry patch hasn't changed much at all. I did give these a little bit of a feed of chicken manure pellets about 2 or 3 weeks ago, but to be fair, we're not going to see any growth or flowers on these until sort of April, May time. But these will sit here over winter absolutely fine inside the little cage. Given this area a new name. I'm calling it Currant Corner because we've got a red, a pink and a white currant down in this corner. Now last weekend we did give these a really good prune back and we removed a lot of the bird netting. Now because I've got the fruit cage and I've got a ton of red currants in there, I'm not too fussed if the birdies get to these before I do. So yes, we've made it a little bit bird friendly down in this corner, and we've also got the old Woollerton Hall rose. I believe it's a David Austin rose, and that was only planted last year, and that really has started to take off. So I'm hoping that come spring, summertime, that's going to start to cover all of this trellis and the trellis behind. And then just in this corner down here, we've got a little loganberry, but that hasn't done too well at all, and I do need to try and tie that in the hope that we get lots of berries on it next year. But yep, it's all looking a little bit neater and tidier over in Currant Corner. So I still haven't done anything with this area just yet, and I really must do something with the chicken coop, whether that's give it away or try and make something from it. I'm not too sure, but Jane down in the comments below, hi Jane, thank you very much, has thought about putting some Japanese maples in here because it is rather shady and I just need some shade loving plants. So I thought that would be a great idea, and making this sort of a nice little seating area. So yeah, that is something to plan come spring, summertime. We've still got the area around the back of the shed to worry about, but yes, I thought a maple garden with maybe some hostas and a little bench would look great just in here. So there we go, we have just done the bark chip side of the two plots, so this side over here. Now we're going to go over to the grass path side, hello, and I'll take you over into the poly house, the fruit cage and a few other bits as well. So down here we've got the 4 box beds, so we've got nothing in here at the moment. That does stay in the shade in winter and nothing would grow, but I think we're going to put some peas or lettuce in there come spring, summertime. We haven't got anything in the actual bed in this box, but we have got the little pots in there that have got some spring bulbs, and then we've got the allium bed and the tulip bed just down there. So I will take you in because a few of them are starting to pop their little heads above the soil. So in this little pot down here, we've got a few that are now starting to sprout up. I really can't remember what they are. They could be alliums, the little drumstick type. And then in here, along with the pansies, you might be able to see, but we've got loads of little tips which are now starting to show themselves in here. So it shouldn't be too long before they really do start to peak above the soil level, and we'll start to see those tulips start to form come springtime. So this is a little allium bulb which has started to shoot just above the soil level. Now you can see I have used some grates on this bed just to protect them from the rats and the squirrels, but we have got a couple more in here as well. You'll have to ignore the shadow. And then down in this bed, as you can see, there's quite a big one already there, but let's go take a closer look. Here is one of the tulips which has definitely started to sprout. Give it another few weeks and I'll probably need to remove some of the grating that's protecting it at the moment. But we've also got a little one just down here. If you can see him, that one there that's now starting to poke through the soil. And then we've also got a third one, excuse the camera, just popping in over there if you can see. So yeah, it shouldn't be too long before the spring bulbs are starting to pop for us. Not much happening in the pond this time of year. You will find that a lot of the toads, frogs, newts will hibernate outside of the pond, and a lot of the insects find it too cold this time of year. So not much happening in there. And same with the wildlife area. No colour. We do need to get in there and give it a little bit of a tidy up because some of those hellebores are starting to pop, and I want to make a little bit of room just so that we can see those beautiful petals. But yeah, everything's looking absolutely fine. Like I say, it's meant to be for the wildlife, so I don't want to be too neat and tidy over in this area. But honestly, the amount of wildlife that comes here over the spring and summertime is crazy. So do keep an eye out for those videos because I absolutely love to keep you updated on all of the wildlife that comes to this pond. Nothing going on in the potato pots at this time of year, so I did want to mulch all of these with some of the rabbit bedding that I got, but somebody had gone and taken the whole lot by the time I'd gone back to get my second barrow load, so we will need to wait out for some of that. But if we don't get any, this will be fine with some bone meal and just some chicken manure pellets just before we start putting those spuds in. But we need to chip those, and I need to buy them first before we start thinking about that, and we probably won't do that until sort of end of February, beginning of March anyway. Everything down in Hospital Corner is looking absolutely fine. We've got some buddleia, grasses, japonica, dogwood. Honestly, you name it, we've got all sorts down in here. But yes, they're all looking absolutely fine. And then come springtime, we can start finding some homes for these and planting them out on the plot. So I'll take you into the poly house in just a second. But down here, we've got another little pond. Not much goes on in here. I do find that a lot of the frogs do chill out there in summer, but we don't even get any frog spawn. We've got a little seat just down there where I come and relax. We've got the bird bath. We see the song thrush in there quite a lot. And we've also got a couple of buddleia and eucalyptus just there. Now we did have some really strong winds just last week and it blew the side of this poly house completely off, so this was all flapping around. So we gave that a repair last weekend with the staple gun, but I do really need to think about a new design for this door. So at the moment we've just attached some Velcro using some staples, but that doesn't seem to be strong enough. So Graham's given me some ideas, but if anyone's got a good idea on how we can design that door, then please let me know down in the comments below. But that will be fine now until sort of spring. So come on, let's go inside and have a little look what's going on inside the poly house. I'm hoping you can see that. So we've had highs of 10.5, but it has got down to -4 in here, which is rather nippy, and I can tell that because the pelargoniums have almost died. But I'll show you what's going on the polyhouse bench. So I've painted the bench that bright yellow, and because of that I did have to pop these down on the floor, but a lot of the slugs got to them, so I have had to chuck a few little plants out. So it is looking a little bit bare in here, but we'll start off down at this end. So we've got a load of foxgloves in here. Now I sowed these last year, probably sort of August, September time. So these will be flowering next year, and they're a white colour. So they're Alba foxgloves. We've got some more in here, some little diddly ones. So we will need to prick those out and put them into their own little pots. And just here we have got a perennial wallflower. Now this is just one cutting that I took, and it's done brilliantly. So in the springtime I will take a few more cuttings from my nan's plant and hopefully get a few more of those plants down on the plot. And as we continue down here, so we done a load of the fruit bushes, we done a load of pruning. So with those pruning offcuts, we have stuck them in here and taken some cuttings. They are hardwood cuttings, so don't water them too much because they might rot off. But fingers crossed, come springtime, those buds should start to open. And just down here, we've got some more cuttings. So these are some fuchsia plants some fuchsia cuttings that we took last year from some of the summer plants that we had. And this is some rosemary cuttings as well, and they've done really well. As you can see, they have started to bush out, so hopefully we should get a few free rosemary plants for next year. And as we continue down here, we have got some of the pineberry plants or strawberries. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. I'll probably need to find out before I start giving those away, but I've got plenty of strawberries and pineberries, so these are for other people down on the plot or at work. We've got some hens and chickens, Sympivernums. They've got so many names, succulents. I want to do a little project with those like I did with the planter. And then further down here we've got some more of the seedlings that we sowed. So these are hardy annuals, and to be fair, a lot of them have started to die back. So we did have quite a few of the Clarkia, but as you can see, they have started to die. So I don't know whether it was just too frosty, I'm not too sure, but some of the slugs I think have got to them whilst they've been on the floor as well. We've got some grass here, that seems to be the only thing that's doing really well, and some of the candy tuft as well. So we will need to give another sowing of some of these plants if we want them later on in the year. And then back here we've got some more cuttings. So we've done some gooseberry pruning. So these are the prunings, and we've taken them and we've potted those up. Now this one, I don't know if you can see, it's a bit blurry, but that has already started to open those buds, so hopefully that has taken quite nicely. At the back here we have got some rose cuttings, and as you can see, they've given off lots of shoots. They should really start dying back this time of year, but it is a little bit protected in here, so fingers crossed we should have some yellow climbing roses from those. And then these three pots here, this is Coreopsis. Now the slugs really did get to these, so I don't know whether they're going to survive for next year, but we will keep them up here and hope that they bounce back. And then we've just got some Sympivernums down in here as well. And then right at the end of the bench down here, we've got some dogwood cuttings. Now these did all sprout earlier in the year, but because it's got a bit cold, they have started to fall off. So I'm hoping that these guys have rooted. And then where we took some cuttings or the pruning of the grapevine, I did just stick a few of these into some soil in the hope that they will root. So fingers crossed, give it a few more months and some of these buds should start to open. But yeah, we've still got quite a bit going on in the poly house, but we've got plenty of more seeds to start sowing in the next few months as soon as those light levels start to get a little bit better. Nothing going on in these beds really, to be fair, so we gave these two beds a really good mulch with some of the homemade compost. And then in this bed we've got the dahlia, so I did mulch that with some compost, but I've added on some straw just to protect it from some of the wet weather that we get and also those hard frosts, because the dahlia tubers really do not like that. And then I do believe we have planted some elephant garlic in this bed as well, so we've got a couple of them which have started to sprout. I think I only had 4, so fingers crossed they'll all come to something. And then behind the poly house, not a huge amount going on. We've got the broad beans just over here. Now they were meant to be sown in spring, but I gave them a go in the autumn. They have looked a little bit sulky in some of the frosts that we've had, but they have bounced back. So fingers crossed, they'll be absolutely fine, and we should get some early broad beans from those plants. And then just here, we've got some of the climbing beans. Now I've left the roots in because those root balls can store some of the energy in, and they can act as a perennial plant. So next year I'm going to try and just stick some of the canes in, and hopefully they will re-sprout and I won't need to sow any of the seeds. And then at the back here we have got the 2 raised beds. So this one's been here a little while, but we just built that one just last weekend, and I can just see a robin popping in and out of there as we speak. So I'm thinking about growing some spuds in that bed. Oh look, here he comes just down here, coming to say hello. I might grow some spuds in there, and we've also got a little kale just in this long bed there, but there isn't much really going on, so we will probably take them out. So in here we've got the fruit cage. Everything is in its dormant phase, so it's basically they're just twigs sticking above the ground at the moment. But we've got blueberries, we have got some red currants in there, some gooseberries, raspberries, and we've even got a grapevine. And we managed to get 3 or 4 bunches last year, and it was its first year to give me fruit, which was quite exciting. But yeah, come spring summer it is quite exciting to get into the fruit cage, but this time of year it is a little bit bare. So down in the flower bed, down by the fruit cage, everything is looking quite green at the moment, but come summertime, there is so much colour in here with the dahlias, the salvia, rudbeckia, echinacea, coreopsis. I've got so many different plants in here, but at the moment, like I say, it's very green, but it shouldn't be too long before we start getting a bit of colour from the poached egg plants and also some of the spring bulbs that we've got in there as well. And look, already some of the polyanthers are starting to flower. We've got a brilliant pink just down here. I think it's picking up more of a reddy colour. But yes, I absolutely love these as spring flowers, and they do flower throughout the majority of the year. Down here we have even got some snowdrops, so it shouldn't be too long before they give off their dainty dangling little flowers, and that really does mean spring is on the way. And here is a view from the entrance on the grass path side. You will need to just bear with the sun. It is quite glary today, but it's absolutely beautiful out here. So that is all we've got time for today, folks. It is rather nippy down here. I think I need to invest in a pair of gloves, because when I'm filming and my hands being out in the cold wind, they are frozen solid. So I'm going to head home, I'm going to warm up and edit this video and get it out to you this afternoon. But that was the first plot tour of 2024. Now I know a huge amount hasn't changed since the December plot tour, and February might be a little bit similar, but come March everything should start to take off, and there's going to be so many changes going on down here on the plot. So yes, I'm hoping to get down here tomorrow. It does depend on the weather. There isn't a huge amount that I need to get done, but there are a few odd jobs. So I need to give the bench its final lick of yellow paint, and I also want to try and remove the gooseberries from underneath the pear tree. So even if I pop down and just get those couple of jobs done, I will be happy. So if I do pop down, I will bring you guys along with me. And finally, I do just want to say thank you again for everybody who has subscribed over the last 9 to 8 months. Honestly, it means the world to me. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. But yes, I will see you guys down here tomorrow. In the meantime, take care. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, all of that good stuff, and I'll see you soon. So take care, guys. See you later. Bye bye.